these money games.
Yeah, money games.
And, you know, there are emotions on both sides of the ledger. You know, I'm of the
yeah. What do you think about that?
You know, I'm of the house of, yo, HBCUs need to make money. They do. And with fans not coming to games, not donating money to the level in which, you know, Power 5 conferences do. Hell, not even on the level of what their counterparts in the FCS level are currently doing. And without a television deal and without the rights contracts that these other schools have, they're not getting the same type of money. So that's why they play these games. Now, of course, a lot of people have come out and said that they don't like to see HBCUs playing these games because, of course, they're playing against higher talent, and in some instances, because of the conditioning and how deep these FCS schools are, they're afraid of injury. Right. Now, Deion has come out and said recently during their press conference, he says normally you get paid to get beat, right? That's really the goal. Somebody pays you, your program makes more money than it normally would. I don't believe in that. I don't know how that helps everybody. It helps the budget, but it kills the morale. How can you get your butt kicked? I mean, literally kicked. Help you as a team. All money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. Now, I've been referring to Deion Sanders as the E.F. Hutton of HBCU football, right?
Right.
For those of you too young to know what that means, you're already on YouTube. Press pause, type in E.F. Hutton, you'll get what I'm saying, right? And come on back and watch the rest of the show. But he's the E.F. Hutton of HBCU football. Whenever he speaks, people listen. The thing is, oddly enough, he's been reiterating a lot of the things that other coaches have said in the past. You know, I had a conversation with Delaware State head coach Rob Milstead, played in the NFL for several years, won rings with the Niners and with the Washington football team. And we had this exact same conversation, right? We talked about, you know, not going places, getting money only for your team to get beat down on. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even like going far to get beat down anymore. If you look at their schedule in 2019 and in this fall, they've had to combine, if my math is correct, 15 to 16 games that have been within 3 hours or 2 hours or less of their campus. They haven't had to go far at all over the past 2 seasons. Their furthest game that they're going so far this year is to Jackson City, Tennessee, which is this weekend against East Tennessee State University. Yes, that East Tennessee State that just recently beat Vanderbilt. So they're going eight hours out of the way to play them. So normally they don't go too far outside of Delaware to play their games. They make their money, but they don't necessarily get beat down in doing so.
Right.
My thing is, it's a combination of the two, because a player can get hurt in any game. A player can get hurt in practice.
Correct. Yes.
A player can get hurt in practice. It just looks worse when your team's getting beat down by a known entity and you have players that walk away and all you got to show for it is the fact that you came away with a check. Yeah. Now there's certain schools that are capable of beating these schools, primarily in the MEAC, or formerly of the MEAC when we talk about North Carolina A&T in recent years. But primarily there have been MEAC teams in recent seasons that have gone away and beaten these FBS programs. It just hasn't happened in the SWAC. Actually, South Carolina State has an opportunity of doing the same thing this weekend when they go play New Mexico State out there in New Mexico. Yeah. But I'm looking at Jackson State capable of having the capabilities of going down to Monroe, Louisiana, beating them and walking away with the money. But yeah, like I said, I understand both sides. But in order for them to stop playing those games and saying that these games are bad, I'm gonna need you to come up with a solution or how, because no one ever does, right? Right. They always say that these things are bad. Yeah. Okay. But no one ever comes up with a solution on how to fix these things. So I would like to see more solutions than what I come up with in ways of fixing these things. That's why they continuously do these things, because certain people just can't come up with answers. And until they do, this is what we're going to continue to get.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm kind of like with you though. I mean, you got to get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these schools schedule, and then HBCUs aren't the only one.
No, they're not.
Ones. I mean, Mercer played Alabama last week.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? The East Tennessee State, when they beat Vanderbilt
yes.
paid them to lose them.
Yes.
So, you know, it's just, it happens. Smaller schools, that's why a lot of coaches from Power Fives, especially like a Dabo Swinney, he's in favor of still playing FCS schools because they make, he wants them to eat too.
Yeah. And I'm glad that he looks at it that way, right? Because there are a lot of entities within the FBS realm that want to do away with these games, and understandably so for a degree, but not him, thankfully, because you know the relationship that he has there with South Carolina State primarily and Coach Buddy Pugh. Yeah. But the thing is, you know, it just happens to be, you know, HBCUs, we're in dire straits financially in some cases. And these are the things that we have to do in order to earn money, which looks like suicide to your program because you get beat down and you get physically beat down. And all you come away with was a check. And that's why we have this perception about these games that way. But yeah, all of these FCS programs do it. They do. I just say, you know what? If you want to make it a situation where you don't want to look like you're losers as much, then schedule these games against, I guess you can say, a group of 5 programs instead of Power 5, even though the Power 5 conferences pay more. So you got to make your decision. Which one is more important? Generating that revenue, and in some cases getting exposure, and even more cases helping your talent get looked at and drafted. Because what is the one thing they keep talking about when these players on HBCU levels don't get drafted? They need more exposure. Right. You know, one of the things that helped out Javon Hargrave and Darius Leonard get eyes on them, their games that they had against Clemson. That is the one thing that especially Mike Mayock, when he was reviewing their film, would always talk about, was that game, their individual games against Clemson and how they fared against the likes of the Tigers and Dabo Swinney. And when they hold their own and play well, just like Jacoby Durant, the quarterback currently at South Carolina State, these scouts will look at you more. Right. Because apparently they're not watching any other games, even though
that's been given.
You know,
by Deion and Fred Taylor said the same thing, but hell,
I've been saying the same thing. I'm like, yo, these scouts are there. Yeah. So I shouldn't even say scouts. I'm going to go ahead and say GMs and owners. So the GMs and the owners, the decision makers, the real decision makers, they're not watching the same film, the same footage, the same tape, and they're not necessarily paying too much attention to what their scouts are saying. But when they hear somebody on TV say something, let's go investigate this guy. And that's how Graves get drafted in the 4th round. And Leonard, yes, thank you. And Leonard gets drafted in the 2nd round. So that's how that happens.
And people forget that Javon Hargrave, he had 36 sacks. At South Carolina State. That's not a season. No, I don't care what level you're on. 9 sacks a season is 9 sacks a season.
Exactly.
And good for him for pulling that to the NFL career. But yeah, to your point, both their games against Clemson in different years put them on the map. I mean, let's just be real about it.
I mean, they played together and they did overlap, but I think at the time that Hargraves graduated, Leonard was a sophomore. But they still had games that they both highlighted in individual times. And that was the one thing that people always reference. Now, the scouts will point to the other games that they've had, especially within the MEAC where they look good, but everybody always talks about that Clemson tape. So, yes, it's a detriment, but it's also a benefit too. So it's a game, but you got to understand how to finesse it.
Right. You got to play it in the game. To your point, you got to play it in the game. You got to play with the parameters because they don't make the rules. No. Other FCS programs don't make the rules. Group of 5 schools don't make the rules. it's a Power Five world. Everyone else is living in it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Or you could be like coach of our A&T and be like, someone bring me my money.
Bring me my money.
Yeah.
That's just a situation.
When
you play against these group of 5 programs, and you're capable of going through and getting a win and getting some cash at the end of it. With a couple of seasons ago with their wins over University of North Carolina at Charlotte and Jackson State and the Jacksonville State, I'm sorry. And God, I'm trying to remember, there's another win in Kent State a couple of seasons before that with Coach Broadway. So there's certain schools that have these big wins. Howard over UNLV a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Bethune-Cookman had a win over FIU, if memory serves me correctly, a couple of years ago. So there are programs that steal these wins and against these other group of 5 programs. But again, it's not like a $900,000 check. I can't remember who got that, but somebody got that recently in the HBCU ranks playing against a Power 5 conference team.
Okay.
So you like I said, you got to weigh that. You do, and come up with alternative means of getting funds if you don't want to continue.
Was the A&T against Duke? Was the A&T getting the money against Duke? Because I know they played Friday.
They played last Friday. Yes, this is the second time that they played in a couple of seasons. I can't remember what that payout was, but of course it was a 6-figure payout, and of course the majority of these games are 6-figure payouts, starting at around $250,000 to $300,000. Right. And that sounds like small change, but you're talking about programs whose budgets are like 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, 12, 14, 15 million, as opposed to budgets of the Power 5 conferences, which are 70, 80, 90 million.
Right.
So it's 2 different situations where that 6-figure check toss around money for them, but it's big to HBCUs.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this in the upcoming weeks because it's pretty big. Because to your point, we got another check game. Jackson State, Louisiana Monroe, and a couple others. So we're probably going to keep talking about. We're probably going to keep talking about with some buddies from HBCU programs or HBCU universities, and who keep up with this kind of stuff like we do. And it's an ongoing conversation to be sure. So